Hi, I'm Katie, and in this video series I'm going to be documenting my process through the locating practice module, and it's going to be a very weird mix of me doing studying work, practice runs, practical demonstrations for the final exhibition, and it's basically just going to be like my journey through making videos, practicing performances, looking at the theory topics for this project and my final artwork. So far I have general ideas and it's completely changed from what it was going to be. I started off thinking that I was going to be making giant paint by numbers, to then being like, no, I really don't want to do that, and being lost for a little while, sat brainstorming, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do a performance, as much as that makes me uncomfortable, but we've all got to do things that we don't like. So I was going to make it extra hard for myself and try and document this, and it all come together as a final YouTube series, perhaps, maybe, if it all goes well, and having a performance as a live stream at the end. So you've got that to look forward to. All these videos are probably going to be coming out in the space of a week. It's all going to be a week-long exhibition, and that's how long the videos will be up for. And at the end of it, there'll be a live stream. So this is your chance to watch me develop and procrastinate mostly in my student house, and hopefully the journeys of getting to my sites and things like that. So I hope you enjoy. This video is going to have a little bit more context about the subjects I'm talking about, which I will edit in a minute. So we're talking about vulnerability, and I wanted to sit down in front of a camera because it makes me feel incredibly vulnerable. And I suppose the definition of it is the state of exposing yourself to harm or to injury, emotionally or physically. But I think that's only like one strand of vulnerability. There's different ways to be vulnerable, but for this project I've decided that I wanted to do the things that make me feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, because we started with the idea of vulnerable spaces. So I want to make video work and performance work because they make me feel looked at and they make me feel watched, and my skills aren't the best in them, so I always feel a little bit out of touch to what I'm doing. It's something I've been dealing with, especially throughout university, the fact that everything has to be perfect before I let people see it, which has marked me down a few times because I'm scared of practicing. I'm scared of letting people see the development and see the first drabs of things before the perfected, finished thing. And I'm very good at pushing people away who are trying to help me in this. And it's because I feel vulnerable. I don't like people seeing something I don't deem as perfection. I don't like to be the centre of attention, which is why I think making video work as documentation, pushing my skills in video, which I'm not very comfortable with, is a good idea, but as well incorporating a performance into this, because that's the practice that makes me feel the most exposed. I'm not even physically, I don't have to be exposed in my body to feel vulnerable, because people are watching me, and that's not something I enjoy. So we started this project thinking about vulnerable spaces. It's an idea I've had since the start. I was thinking of private rooms, like bedroom. You can be yourself in these spaces, that kind of thing. But the most vulnerable space I found, which would have been my granddad's shed. And it's a very, very weird space because it's just a shed now. They've transformed it back into a shed because he had made it something that was his own. It was like a man cave full of rock posters and music and just a space to hang out in. But when he left, we tore it all down and we wrote all over the walls just because we knew we'd hate it. And since that day I don't think I've been in. The house itself has got a weird vibe because it's all the happy memories mixed with this stain of who he was and the memories we've had of him. It's a very bittersweet place. But we'd never want to change it. We'd never want them to tear it down or move house, that kind of thing, because of the amount of happiness there was. And I think it's very important that I go into this space and sort of make amends with it before they tear it down. And I want to document that process in a video, well, in multiple videos hopefully, so you can see the development of me getting comfortable on camera, making eye contact, just genuinely being comfortable taking a phone out, a camera out and filming things, getting over my own anxieties of looking stupid. Because it happens in a lot of the aspects of my life. I'm insecure about a lot of things. Stupid things like I can't walk properly at the moment, so I'm scared I'm slowing other people down and they're getting mad at me, and it makes me feel very vulnerable when I'm out and about. And I know I should be more focused on getting me okay and not pushing myself to the point that I'm going to break. And I think that was a concern going into this project, especially with it being such a personal thing. I'm very emotionally vulnerable with this, but because it's a subject we've all tried to make amends with, I've negotiated the space with more than one person, and I've negotiated the topic with the people that it matters with, and I think it's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for me to be able to get back into that shed and see it as a shed. I could treat it and try and make it new again, but then they're going to rip it down next year, so I could just go back down to the root, trying to represent sort of the stain that it's left on the house, the frustration and the vulnerability of just everyone having to deal with a bad subject and a bad person. I've sat down here today with nothing on that could mask myself in. Everything's bare. I've laid it bare because that's what I feel like I should do for this kind of subject. I think you've just got to be honest and say your own faults, because that's one of the most vulnerable things you can do, talking about your faults, because it's an acknowledgement of something that isn't perfect. And that's a lot of what vulnerability is, trying to see the perfect in things, making everything perfect, trying to find your own worth. I find that a lot of my early work isn't worthy enough for people to see, which is why I don't want to show it. And it all leads back to sort of vulnerability being a weird fear and an uncertainty and a little bit of shame, although I don't necessarily see a lot of the shame in myself. It's the insecurity and the uncertainty that sort of drives my vulnerability, because I like to know how things are going to happen, like laid out in a plan. So to have a spontaneity, to have an uncertainty of how things are going to come out, which is very much this project, makes me feel horrible. I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to get into the space because of financial reasons and travelling. I also have big family events coming up this year. And I don't know how the videos are going to come out because previously they've not been great. So that's always a stress. And the performance itself, I'm trying to work it in a way that I'm not going to feel incredibly anxious, but I also want to push myself to do this because it's a vulnerable space while I'm feeling vulnerable, and it's something that I want to challenge, because if I don't, there's no way forward. If you don't challenge your vulnerability, there's no way to progress through it. And as I said before, everyone has their own way of working through vulnerability, trying to understand it, trying to work it. Sometimes you've just got to try and do it head on, which is what I'm going to try and do in this, especially when it comes to like putting on practice performance pieces, because people are going to want to see it, and that's going to improve my grade as much as I don't want to do it. So that's a very important thing. And I think it's good to have conversations with people about this kind of thing, especially in the negotiation of my space. I've had to speak to multiple family members. I've had to talk to my nan and my aunt who live in the house, the shed, because obviously I'm going to invade and I don't want to cause upset, which was my biggest anxiety with this, is telling people what I'm doing and hoping that they're not going to get upset about it, because it's a subject that it's not pleasant, so no one really wants to talk about it. I didn't know if I was allowed to make work on it. So I've sat down and spoken to the people who own the site, and I couldn't have asked for a better response from them. Because they want to tear it down next year, I have free reign of it, and honestly I think they want to be rid of it. It's been 5 years of it being looming in the garden as this big memory of something. But again, it's not all bad memories. My parents got engaged in that shed, and it's just the association of the person that makes it such a big cloud over the whole area. But as I say, I've negotiated with them, and I've negotiated with my mum, because she's the one it concerns the most. And because I'm not going into specifics about things, it's more about the effect on the family and how it's made us all vulnerable. I've been allowed to go ahead with this, which is very important, I think, because it's just a good place to start. I need to get into it. I need photos of it, because I want to see the traces of what is left. So that's my starting point, and from there I'm just going to keep working it and trying to make videos, and I'm hoping that you're going to see the development of me getting comfortable in videos as well. But I just don't want people to think I'm weird just sat talking in my room. But that's life. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!